Good Thursday afternoon, Houston. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Kim Castro. This is a 10-minute extended look at your weather forecast, and we're looking ahead to the 4th of July. We're looking ahead to the weekend, and I've got to check at the tropics for you because we've got an increased potential of the third named storm of the season. We'll start off with the heat. You'll notice temperatures are pretty similar to where we were yesterday, about a degree or so less hot, and that's because we are tracking some more cloud cover. There is more moisture in the forecast, and with more moisture this afternoon, we are tracking some additional rain chances. So I'll show you what radar looks like right now and then what Future Track has in store for us later on this afternoon. Right now, 85 in Conroe feels like 95 in Galveston, 90 feels like 106, Hobby Airport 91 feels like the century mark, and then Bush 91 feels like 99. And we've got our neighborhood weather network as well, so I could get down to your exact neighborhood. If you live on Pine Forest Road Memorial, you're at 106 for the heat index right now. 103 in Lynbrook Drive. Briar Rose is at 108, and the Heights even hotter. Rutland Street 109 East 7th. Feels like 111 degrees. So we are trapping in the heat and the humidity today. Here's a live look at the Gulf Freeway looking back towards downtown. So those are the clouds I was talking about for today. We got that breeze streaming in from the Gulf at 6 miles an hour, and that is increasing moisture. So if you remember, this exact same time yesterday, the dew point was at 70. So it is a little bit higher today. That means the moisture potential is building. And with the peak heating of the day, some of that moisture that is up suspended in the sky is going to drop down and give us some showers. Right now, though, it is a nice skyline for Pleasure Pier. You'll notice some people taking advantage of the beautiful beach day by getting in the water. That 90, like I mentioned, with the dew point getting close to 80, feels a lot hotter than the actual air temperature, but it's always hotter in Galveston. I think the high temperature today kicks up a couple more degrees, either 92 to 93. That will be the high temperature for the island. If you're going to Surfside Beach, your high temperature is going to be 91, and the yellow flags there means it's a moderate risk for rip currents, so no heightened concern for that today, but always maintain, alertness when you're by the water, especially if you're going with the little ones. This afternoon, I think more storms are going to be headed for the loop in the Beltway, maybe even working their way up the North Freeway. Time frame to watch is going to be in the next 2.5 hours or so, and I think some of those could continue even into your commute home. So if you're trying to get kick-started on your 4th of July plans, hit the road early. You might be a little delayed because of the rain, but fear not. By 6:30, things quiet down and it stays fairly modest and calm through tomorrow morning. Now, then I want you to keep an eye on radar starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll watch a couple of showers working their way through the Gulf and then eventually lifting towards the I-10 corridor. Some of these could get a little bit stronger between 2 and 6 o'clock in the evening. So watch as they get a little stronger. There you go. So a couple of downpours possible, but as we go to the 8 o'clock time frame when most of the fireworks shows are getting started, shower activity starts to wrap up. Cloud cover is going to stick around though, so they might be a little hazy fireworks. We'll keep an eye on that, but I don't think there are going to be any lightning delays that late at night, which is the good thing. Temperature-wise, we are going to be climbing to a high of 95 degrees this afternoon at IAH because we are anticipating those downpours. When we get the rain, we get some rain-cooled air, so temperatures will be fluctuating a little bit between the mid-80s to the mid-90s. So if you are in the middle of a little rain shower, your temperature is going to drop down momentarily. And if you're staying dry, because remember, there's about a 30% chance for storms today, so if you're on the dry slot, you're going to just be feeling the heat. The heat is pretty similar to what we're going to experience tomorrow, so if you want to gauge of what your 4th of July is going to be like, really very similar to what we're going to see today, almost a carbon copy. The heat index is going to feel like 105 during the peak heating of the day, and that rain chance is about a 20%, so similar, again, to today's rain chances. If you're traveling Throughout the Lone Star State, you are going to encounter some on and off downpours. There is some moisture that's working in, bringing us a couple of heavier rain showers. It's a range, but it's not causing any delays. So maybe you're driving a little bit slower because of the slick roads, but air travel is completely unbothered by that rain. It is, however, causing some issues in Florida. Miami has about an hour delay from the storms that are popping up there. Our storms look like this, so a little bit of lightning starting to work in from that shower that's moved along 5969, now traveling closer towards Sugar Land. And then there's more storms working their way to Angleton from 288, and then eventually they'll start to lift towards the Beltway. Let's have a look at how many lightning strikes we're counting. Not very many. I can see about, like 20 or so in the last 15 minutes, so that's not a significant amount. What I will be also watching is the potential for some downpours. I think more than anything, it's going to be some of these deeper reds that bring us a couple of stronger rain bands and just a quick little downburst of moisture that could lead to some quick ponding on the roads, but not enough to cause too many issues. So right now, Long Point, you're getting some heavy rain and some lightning, and then eventually that will move towards the north and east. So Missouri City, you're seeing some of the rain right now. Eventually Bel Air is going to get in on some of that moisture, and then downtown we'll start to see some activity. Right now Scott Street is showing a little light rain shower, but they won't be sticking around for too long, so that's good. Brookside Village seeing much of the same. Just a couple of popcorn showers, very typical of a summer pattern in Houston. You'll notice on radar, the moisture is streaming in from Mexico. So if I show you the water vapor imagery, you can highlight the big moisture source there and a reinforcing shot of moisture that is right behind it. So a lot of this moisture is actually left over from Barry. Remember, that was a tropical storm that developed for us this past weekend. And this batch of moisture is actually from Flossie, which was a hurricane in the Pacific. It's still got some legs. It's now a tropical storm, Flossie. It's moving west-northwest at 10 miles an hour, so moving away from land, but the wraparound rain bands and wraparound moisture content is riding along the Mexico coastline and pushing into Texas too. So that's what's going to be bringing us our storm chances today and tomorrow afternoon. And then something else to monitor, and this is going to be for the eastern seaboard. There's a low pressure system that's bringing a cluster of storms to Florida right now. That's why they're dealing with that 1 hour delay in Orlando. Well, as that trough kind of sits there over the next couple of days, there's a potential that those storms could start to gain some organization and eventually gain some of the fuel source from the Atlantic waters, get a cold core, go from a cold core to a warm core, which would give it tropical characteristics, and maybe get the next name on the list. There's a 60% chance of that happening this weekend. Regardless, if you have traveled to Florida planned or you're going to the Carolinas, you will encounter some showers. And if it does gain organization, it would get the designation Chantal. That's the next name on the list. After that, we go on to Dexter, Aaron, and Fernand. Now, Saharan dust has scaled back today, and it stays pretty subdued through tomorrow. That's why the air isn't as dry, and that's why that moisture from Mexico is going to bring us a chance for storms. There is a little bit of dust out there, but not a lot. Now, as we go into the start of the coming week, there's a big batch of moisture that is once again going to be stunted by this dust plume that is going to work its way into Texas. So that's going to be something that suppresses some of the rain chances next week. It doesn't zero them out completely, but we're only tracking an isolated to a scattered storm chance, less than 50% as we go into next week. So an afternoon storm is possible, but it's not going to be a washout of a day, any day in the 7-day forecast. Okay, we talked about today and tomorrow, mid-90s with a chance for some afternoon storms. If you're looking for a dry day, Saturday looks really nice, although it will be the hottest day of the 7-day forecast as well. That's going to be a day that we get close to the century mark for actual air temperatures. Of course, the heat index is always in the triple digits this time of year. Sunday is when we start to see the scattered storm potential return, and that same trend carries us into the middle of the coming week. Temperatures are going to stay consistent. You'll notice each morning about 77 for a morning low, and the high temperature right around 96 degrees each and every day. It's a steady forecast. I'm wishing you a great rest of your Thursday and a fabulous 4th of July.